Every time you touch someone, you have to always remember you don't know when you're going to meet them again or how you're going to meet them again. People remember how you made them feel, not about what you said, but how you made them feel.
Her journey began in fashion advertising over 25 years ago, working for publications like Complex, The Source, and Honey Magazine. But these days, she's an entrepreneur with her own management firm. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Renée Billy of BHX Management. Thank you for joining us, Renée.
Thank you for having me.
So your name is Renée Billy, but you often add the name Hendricks. Where did that come from?
So my husband's last name is Hendrickson. So Hendricks is a play off of his name. And obviously, we thought it was cool because of, Hendrix, Jimi Hendrix being the greatest or considered the greatest electric guitarist. So, obviously I thought I'm aiming to be the greatest at what I do.
Okay, I know that's right. So help me set the scene. It's the early 2000s. What was life like for you professionally?
Well, I began my career in marketing and advertising, and somehow I got into fashion. And I specifically worked for a couple of publications. My first job in fashion advertising was at Honey Magazine, where I was the fashion advertising manager. And what that meant was that I called on all the fashion brands and brought them into the magazine. So for example, magazines have the editorial side and the publishing side. I was on the sales side, publishing. And so that's kind of where it began. And then from there, I went to Complex Magazine, and then I worked at The Source. And then I also landed at Time Inc. magazine. So during that time, magazines were the thing. It was all about publications. Obviously, unfortunately now, everything is all digital. And while publications still exist, now they're in a digital format. So everything's online now. But back in the day, there were beautiful, glossy paper. The pictures popped off the pages. So I do kind of miss that, but that's where that began.
So you mentioned The Source, you mentioned Complex. Let's focus on The Source right now. Okay. What was it like working at The Source? Some would argue and say that it was the greatest hip hop magazine at the time. So talk to me about that.
So working at The Source, yes, it was definitely considered the hip hop Bible at the time. I wasn't there at the very beginning, so I came on board after it was already hot. I wish I could take credit for being one of the original employees, but I'm not. But it was definitely an exciting time. We had the Source Awards and so forth, so we got to fly out to Miami and so forth, and all of the greatest hip hop artists at the time would be there and performing. And so it was definitely a great time. Definitely a great time.
And working in entertainment and working with artists of that sort, did you always think you would do that growing up?
I definitely thought at some point that I would be closely aligned with entertainment, for sure. Fashion, I've always had an interest and a love of fashion, so the fact that the two worlds were able to collide for me was great. But I definitely always thought I'd somehow be aligned with entertainment. The fashion was a great bonus.
And what was the moment that you realized that?
I have to be honest, I think, before working in publishing, I worked as a marketing manager at a footwear brand. They actually owned 9 brands at the time. Most of those brands are no longer around, but that was my first entree into fashion. And the fact that I was able to tie that love of fashion into the publishing space or whatever was definitely cool. But I would say, I've always loved fashion since a kid. As a matter of fact, I always wanted to own my own boutique. That was definitely a dream of mine. So working for the magazines, I definitely thought that I was getting closer to it. I actually had a small business where I sold goods and so forth. So I hosted my own trunk parties, and that was like a little bit of a buzz back in the early 2000s. But I just never pulled the trigger and opened up a brick and mortar. But there are a lot of people that still remember me for that.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so you mentioned briefly how you missed, print and how the colors used to pop off the pages and things of that sort. It's definitely different having the ability to hold something and then, read something from your phone. So the shift from print to digital was likely an eye-opening one for you and others, in the early 2000s, especially thinking about how things have progressed in today's day and age, right? So Pew Research found that people are more so inclined to get their news from a digital source rather than television, with even fewer Americans, 5% preferring print and 6% choosing radio as their source. What are your thoughts on that? And talk to me, really tell me your thoughts on that, because you experienced that firsthand, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be honest with you, when I was working I would say probably on the heels of The Source, and then into when I worked at Time Inc. At Life Magazine, that was when digital was taking over. AOL, I know that sounds probably ancient to a lot of the people that are tuning in, but AOL and Yahoo were big brands that were coming into the marketplace and, introducing digital. And everything was very timely. The difference between obviously a print publication is that we would prepare the information that would be placed inside the pages months in advance, whereas digital, it's obviously it's very timely. So if there's something that happened yesterday, you would know about it immediately. Whereas print, we didn't have that.
So I'm happy you mentioned that, because that makes me think. So you said that you would prep things months and weeks in advance.
Months in advance.
If something was breaking news, how did that work? Could you not get it up on the newsstands, or?
Yeah, there was a time, other than a daily newspaper, obviously the newspapers have always been the most current, for forever and a day. But when you're talking about magazines were usually monthly. So there were some publications that were 12 months a year, and then there was some that were 10, so they might double up for two of the months of the, for different months of the year. So we couldn't break a story that just happened. So we might have a different spin on it. Again, the publications that I work for were closely tied to the entertainment space. So it was either we were profiling different entertainers, whether it be sports, whether it be, musicians and so forth. So if something happened, we would probably be doing our version of, the story, but it would be like a month or so later.
A recap.
Yep, a recap. Exactly. Now, newspapers obviously would get it out as quickly as possible.
Awesome. So I want to fast forward a couple of decades to the present day. And I want to talk about Miss Lawrence's Purpose Ball. Mm-hmm. So that's with your current management firm. Before we get to that, let's talk about what type of management consulting you do.
So I have the pleasure of repping different talent from that are expertise in a variety of disciplines. You mentioned Miss Lawrence. Miss Lawrence is definitely, I've had the pleasure of working with him. I've worked with Bevy Smith. I'm currently working with Ebony K. Williams, Shanita Hubbard, Flo Ngala, who's an amazing photographer, Nathan Hale Williams, Carolyn Robinson, and so forth. So I work with filmmakers, authors.
A wide array. You just mentioned so many different industries.
Yeah, different industries. And so what's so unique about them is that they are, they have obviously their various strengths and disciplines and so forth. But what I do for them is find what I call other revenue streams for them, right? So, for example, I have the pleasure of working with a gentleman by the name of Michelle Smith Boyd, who's an extraordinary interior designer and also a design star. And so he's been on TV and so forth. And so obviously he has a wealth of clients that trust him for their interiors, but he's also a great, a brand in itself. So I look for opportunities for him where other companies may be looking to work with him. So I look for those opportunities. Same with Bevy Smith, Miss Lawrence, and so forth. And you mentioned the Purpose Ball. That is actually Miss Lawrence's platform. So he asked me to help him secure sponsorship. And so obviously that's what I did when I was working for the publications. I would go out and bring in pages, which is ad dollars. So it's not ad dollars, so to speak, but it is sponsorship revenue. So that's also what my clients rely on me to do.
So you're quite resourceful.
Very much so, I guess, yeah.
Okay, so back to Miss Lawrence's Purpose Ball. So that event combined ballroom culture and the LGBTQ community. Let's talk about that and how you executed that from start to finish.
So he is the producer. It is his baby. So I simply went and tried to help him find dollars so that he could actually execute the event. And so I was fortunate enough to land Gilead Sciences, which became the sponsor for the Purpose Ball. And as luck would have it, Miss Lawrence was able to have and host the first Purpose Ball during the Strength of a Woman Festival, which was last year at Mary J. Blige. So, you know, the two worlds collided. Obviously, we had Mary J. Blige was one of the judges for the Purpose Ball. And it was during that same weekend. So obviously there was a lot of buzz about it. And as a result, Miss Lawrence garnered press and so forth. But my role was simply to try to get sponsorship, which I did with Gilead.
Awesome. So let's piggyback or let's step back a little bit. How do you get sponsorships? Like, what is your, I don't want to say give the secret sauce because that's your sauce, but if you could just give it like a little taste, like what do you do to get these people to bring in the big money?
It's really just about relationships. So that's the main thing. That's how you're going to get it, right? But the main thing I would say is probably crafting the story. So I have great, people that I work with, and obviously they're they have these amazing business ideas and platforms that they want to get out there. So they don't need me for that. What they need me for is to be able to craft or create a narrative so that it can be compelling for a Coca-Cola or a Cadillac or a Hilton or something like that.
So like the pitch.
The pitch. So it's obviously you need a deck, and you don't need it to be too long. No one's going to read through, 15 plus pages. They're just not going to do it. So you just need to be able to tell the story of who you are, what your platform is, who your demo is, and then of course, why, the why, and how much.
And what you can do for them?
So that's what's included in the deck. That's what the people need to have in the deck. And so a lot of my clients come to me for that. They don't know how to put it together. And then once you have that together, then you tap into your network. And so I have my own relationships, and then I have clients that also have a wealth of a network as well, or clients that they have relationships with. And so we go to them, and then we obviously try to see if the overall mission or the overall goal of the platform aligns with their brand.
Because it has to make sense.
It has to make sense, right? Like it's great, because your best friend works over at Coca-Cola, but if it doesn't make sense for Coca-Cola to sponsor, they're not going to do it. So it's really that simple, but I know it's also not that simple. And people have a hard time asking for money. Mm-hmm. There are people that, can tell you their platform and tell you exactly and sell it to you and make it, it's beautiful, but they don't know how to ask for the money.
I want to do a quick exercise. Again, your sauce is your sauce, so don't give too much, but I'm going to say how I want, and I want you to fix it up for me. So I'm going to come to you as the average person was.
Okay.
I want some money.
Okay, so what are you selling?
I got a good product and I know it's going to take off and I need some money. So how can I get this funding?
Well, I need to know a little bit more about your product. Why do you think it's the product? Who's
Because
your competitive market? But who's your competitor? Who are your competitors?
Everyone. I can't get no money? I'm just kidding.
Well, thank goodness I have not been approached with anyone like that.
No. Okay, so say like I had a magazine and my competitor was Complex.
Okay.
And this is a Black woman-owned magazine that's started from the ground up. We don't got no funding. Mm-hmm. But it has the capability to be as good as Complex, to be as good as Time Inc. and all those magazines that are still thriving, but digitally.
Well, magazines are different. If we were talking about the old school way of publishing magazines, there's a whole science to that as well.
Since magazines are falling down, let's make it more current, an app.
An app. And you're saying you're looking for funding for your app?
Yes.
That's a little bit different.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different, because if you're looking for funding, then that might be more of a venture capitalist. So that's not the same as sponsorship. But can you
explain the difference?
So venture capitalists usually come in and they will fund you, but they're looking for a percentage of the business.
Gotcha.
So, for example, they're saying, okay, you need $250,000 to get off the ground. and you have to convince them as to why they need to give you $250,000. So obviously you have to sell them on why this is such a great business platform or, you know, a great app. And then once they buy into it, then they're going to say, okay, so what do I get out of it? I'm giving you this $250,000 to help you get this off the ground. So I might want 60% of the business. And you might say 60%.
Yeah.
But that might be the conversation. So a venture capitalist is making an investment based on your proposition. A sponsor is different from a venture capitalist. So for example, if I'm using Coca-Cola again, y'all can call me. But Coca-Cola, if for example, for Coca-Cola to agree to sponsor an event, so to speak, they're looking for their ROI, which is a return on investment. So it would have to make sense for their platform. So let's just say Sprite. You know, I don't know what Sprite's demo is today, but let's just say it's younger folks, maybe between the ages of 18 and 34. Maybe they have a younger spin. So then your platform would need to align with that same demographic. That's one thing. Then the person that you're talking to, is it the multicultural person, you know, the person over diversity, or if it's mainstream and so forth. So how does your platform align with that? Right. Then also to scale. Larger companies are looking for scale. So if you're going to have 50 people in the room, that may not be so attractive to Coca-Cola. They might be looking for a 250 plus, 250. Or if the 50 people are there, what's so special about those 50 people that they want to give you $25,000 to be in the room? And then there's signage. You know, I'm sure you've been to many events. You see those step and repeats, and you see all those pretty names and logos on there. So that sponsor has bought into that platform. And so that is part of their ROI. So now every time someone comes in and takes a picture and it's photographed, they see the logo there. There's opportunities for gift bags. People come in, they take a little, you know, but most of the consumers are looking at like, oh, they got a free gift.
People love free stuff.
They love free stuff, right? But if the sponsor has really thought this through, there's the name on there. Maybe it's on the bag, maybe it's on the, you know, what is it, the battery packs for the phones or whatever, but there's a big logo on there. So now every time you go to charge your phone, you see that logo.
And I'm like, the name of what that is escaping me, but when you consistently see like a brand, like it's just like it gets etched in your memory.
Exactly.
So that's what like brands are looking to do when they do these events, like seeing the name.
However, the trend now is that brands are looking for more grassroots ways, or, you know, like they're not necessarily looking at the typical step and repeat, or, you know, my logo on the invite. They're looking for people to be more creative. So for all the people out there that are trying to create a platform and are looking for corporate brands to, you know, get behind them, think of be more creative, think out of the box. Obviously social media is big for a lot of brands. So they're looking at a lot of influencers and so forth to help kind of spread the word among their engagement, their followers. So they're looking for creativity as well.
Right. Okay, so you briefly touched on relationships, and that's how you get in the room. How important is community in your industry, and how have you built yours?
Community, you said? Well, it's very important. Without it, my business wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I didn't have relationships. And sometimes it's not even having the relationship with the brand. Sometimes it's having a relationship with someone that can get you in the room to meet the brand. So everyone that you meet, you have to look at it as, like, it may not make sense today, but that person that you met may speak your name into a room, and 6 months from now or 2 years from now, you'll get business. So I feel like what I do, I mean, obviously I don't want it to be phony. You know, I have gotten business because on like, or really authentic relationships. People, if they don't like you, they don't like you. There's nothing you can really do about it. But at the end of the day, the way I've been able to continue to keep my business going, the way I've been able to continue to get into rooms is because of my relationships, and because someone spoke my name into a room when I wasn't even there. And so I'll get a call and someone will say, oh, you know, such and such mentioned you, whatever. And they said to give you a call. And then and I might've met that person 2 years ago and didn't even realize that I made an impact, or they listened to what I had to say. So I think it's very important. And people move around. So like, for example, I had an assistant 100 years ago that is now one of the top publishers in the country.
Wow.
But because of our relationship, because she was extremely bright and smart, and I knew that and I appreciated that, and I never treated her as anything other than a great talent, a great human being, we can still get on the phone. But she is doing amazing things now. So I think that every time you touch someone, you have to always remember you don't know when you're going to meet them again or how you're going to meet them again. People remember how you made them feel, not about what you said, but how you made them feel.
Isn't there like a saying, it's like your intern could be your boss one day?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My old assistant could definitely be my boss. You know, she could hire me. I could do some consulting.
I know that's right. BHX Management people.
Yes.
All right. So what sets your consulting business apart from others in the industry? Like, why should people choose you?
Well, the reason why I think I get the clients or have the conversations that I do with potential clients is because, believe it or not, I am a boutique firm. And boutique meaning I'm small but mighty. And I pay very close attention. So yes, people can go to CAA and UTA and Endeavor and all the larger talent agencies or management firms, which are fine, great. However, they're not going to get the same attention that I'm going to give to them. I actually get on calls with my clients throughout the month as a touch base to let them know what I'm working on, to find out what they're hearing, what they would like me to concentrate on. And so forth. And you're not going to get that from the big talent agencies. Yeah. They just don't have the bandwidth. They don't have the time. They have hundreds of people that they might have to service. Like one agent might have a roster of like 100 people. I don't have that. So the attention, you know.
So you're personable.
Very personable.
And that's important. People like to feel like, you know, especially if they're spending money, they need to make sure it's good. Okay, so briefly, can you share a success story where you made a significant difference for one of your clients? I'm sure you have many. What's your favorite one, or one that you can share?
Well, yeah, I have definitely more than one success story, but I'm proud of the relationship, or I'm proud of the work that I've done with Bevy Smith, with Life with Vision.
Really quickly, who is Bevy Smith?
So Bevy Smith is a TV, radio personality, author, now actress, and she was a fashion advertising executive many years ago and quit her job at the age of 38 to do something different, which a lot of people looked at her like, what, you're leaving this fabulous job and a great paycheck? But it just didn't fuel her, didn't feed her soul, so to speak. And so she quit and went off to follow her passion. And a couple of her, endeavors took off, and she started to get like a little bit of traction and so forth. And during the height of that, she decided that she wanted to start this platform called Life with Vision, where she wanted to talk about her journey, because there were a lot of people that were in these jobs, were making a lot of money, but it's just not fulfilling.
It don't feel right.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. And so the marketer that she is, she recognized that she wanted to tell her story in front of a room of people, but also make money.
Yeah.
So we got sponsors, and she took that on the road to 5 cities. And then she landed Fashion Queens. So, but she still does these endeavors. She's done a few Life with Vision. She's done some It Gets Greater Later moments. So these are some of the I would say, titles or mantras that she has that she's managed to monetize. So I definitely, I'm very fond of that. And then Emil Wilbekin, I launched Native Son with him back in 2016.
And what is Native Son?
Native Son is this amazing platform that celebrates Black gay men that are mavericks in their, communities and so forth. So the very first one, he honored Don Lemon, and along with 2 other, I think it was George Faison and one of the founders of Black Lives Matter movement. This was back in 2016. And Those were the honorees, but we went out and got sponsors. And also during that time, I recognized that there was opportunity for me to get speaker engagements because he was also getting tapped to talk to Black employee groups, which are called ERG groups, was within the DEI space. He was also getting tapped to talk about LGBTQ, topics and stuff like that for employees. So I realized, oh my goodness, this is a space and so forth. So that opened my eyes to that. But his platform is still going. It's very successful now. Don Lemon is actually hosting his next Native Son Awards, which I believe is this month in June. But I say all of that to say those are two platforms that I'm very proud of. And quite honestly, I garner business from those two platforms to this day. One starting in 2012, another one in 2016. And people are still recognizing my ability based off of those two people.
RENÈE Billy effect? Okay. So what's next for BHX Management? Can you share any upcoming project events that you're working on?
I actually am working with a woman by the name of Sheila Eldridge, who is the founder of HBC First Look Film Festival. It's her second one, and it's going to be at Howard University this November. And
Should have chosen Hampton.
well, listen, there's two HUs in this family, Howard and Hampton, so but she is doing this film festival, which is great because she's actually going to be sharing tips and trade secrets and so forth with these burgeoning filmmakers. And it does have a concentration of students from HBCUs. And a lot of the talent or I should say speakers, panelists, contributors, all are HBCU graduates as well. However, they don't have to be. So this year she is looking at bringing on the cast of A Different World. Oh, wow. And celebrating the anniversary of Do the Right Thing, The Best Man, The Wood. So it's going to be very exciting. So I'm really excited that I just started working with her to help her with brand partnerships. I just started working with Ebony K. Williams, so I'm excited about that. And I work with an exciting advertising agency called Creative Genius Agency, and they do incredible work. They're actually head of digital for the Tamron Hall show.
Nice.
And we're very close to bringing on another exciting
client.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't say yet, but
secret.
very exciting. So I work with different businesses, and then I also manage talent. So I have a great job.
Awesome. So are there any dream clients that you want to work with in the future? Let's put that out there.
Well, what I will say is that I would love to work with more influencers.
Okay.
I have not tapped into the influencer space as of yet. And so I really would love to tap in and work with these young, burgeoning influencers. And let me not say young. Let me say young to the space. I don't want to say young in age. I want to say I mean young to the space. I definitely feel like the influencers out there are leaving some money on the table.
Oh, are they? Especially the ones that look like us.
Yeah. So I would love to help them get the bag. That's what the kids say, right? I want to help them get the bag. Yeah.
That's what they say and do.
They need to come on to BHX.
So influencers.
Influencers is where
all
definitely
kind fashion influencers, beauty
fashion,
influencers.
beauty, wellness.
Okay.
Yeah, travel.
Okay. Food.
Lifestyle, all of it.
She's open.
All of it.
Okay, period. Yeah. Okay, you put that out there. Hopefully it's gonna come to you. Okay, so dampen the mood a little bit. Okay. Was there ever a time when business became slow? And if so, how did you handle that?
Oh, yeah. So as recently as last year, 2023, I wouldn't say it was slow, but it was different. Mm-hmm. So DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, for those that don't know what those acronyms stand for, but on the heels of the Black Lives Matter movement, George Floyd, the tragedy of, George Floyd's murder, mm-hmm. there was white guilt. And so a lot of corporations understood that they needed to
Do more
for the community. So a lot of jobs were created that didn't exist, and a lot of budgets were increased, that maybe didn't have any money. And so there were opportunities for my talent to speak to these employee resource groups, ERG groups, and so forth. And that was great. Definitely timely, definitely needed to be had. And they created these safe spaces for their employees to talk about different. And so we would come up with creative ways to have like a conversation about heavy topics, but it was a safe space for employees. So I garnered a lot of business that way. 2023, those budgets dried up quietly.
Isn't that weird?
But they dried up.
That's weird. That's suspicious.
Yeah. So I can't like not do what I do, right? So I had to learn how to pivot. And so now I'm not just focusing on the DEI opportunities. I look to work with different platforms. So like the Essence Fest or ColorCom or Add Color or Invest Fest, holla. We have great speakers, great talents to add to your programming. But those are definitely platforms that I'm more focused on now. And I'm also working with institutions. So I'm working in the education category. So I have talent that is ready and able to speak to universities and colleges, libraries, and so forth to enhance their existing programming.
Nice. Okay, so you're now based in Atlanta. You used to be based in the tri-state area. How's that change been? And why did you move to Atlanta?
The change has been seamless. I haven't missed a beat because I moved. But I moved for my husband. My husband was looking to come down to this area. He's in a different field. He's in real estate. And there were some opportunities here in the Southeast region that made sense. So I made the move.
And you've been thriving ever since, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. What's one thing that you wish people knew about your industry that they don't?
I would say, if I had it my way, I just wish that mainstream would stop looking at Black and brown voices to only speak to Black and brown voices. That's the main thing. I really wish that if you're a conference, let's say you're talking, it's a medical conference. There's Black and brown people that can speak very well to that audience. So, diversify.
Why are they being passed up?
Yeah. I mean, it's great. I want to talk at Essence. I want my people to talk at Black Enterprise. I want my people to talk at ColorCom. I want my people to talk at all of these amazing events that were designed for us. We still want to be there. But like South by Southwest or like, the conference on, AI. There's plenty of people that look like us that can speak to that and add some engaging conversation. And I just wish that there was more, they were reaching out. They were reaching out.
Got you. Lastly, can you share some advice for business owners who want to consult a firm? For example, what should they look for in a consulting partner to make a seamless connection?
Well, for me, I want to work with people that I like and also that I believe in what they're trying to do, right? So I loved working with Native Son because I got it. I'm an ally to the community. So the fact that he wanted to celebrate them,
it just made sense.
It just made sense. The Purpose Ball with Miss Lawrence, I totally got it. I'd never experienced the ballroom scene, but when I went to the Purpose Ball, oh my God, I had the best time. It was fabulous, all the things. But I wanted to see him win, right? So it makes sense. When I work with Michelle Smith-Boyd, I think he's a beast at what he does. So if there's any way that I can enhance what he's already doing, I think that people should just look for opportunities that align with what they believe in, want to do, so it won't feel like a job. We've all had jobs where we go and we show up, right? Because we got to get a check, we got to pay bills, whatever. But if you can get up every day and work with people that you actually like to work with, or you like what they're doing, it doesn't seem like work. It doesn't seem like work. And so I have some great clients. I mean, I have authors. I have Shanita Hubbard, who's fairly new to my platform. She has this great book called Ride or Die. She's a woman's woman. Definitely love the fact that I get to work with her. Lisa Bonner, she's a great entertainment attorney. She has a great book called The Legalities. Anyone that is looking to start a business should pick up that book. Yeah, I mean, I feel really lucky that I get to work with people that that I get and that I like. Yeah, it's a gift. I hope whatever I'm on right now, whatever's going on in the universe, I hope it continues to keep going this way. Like, yeah.
And you're open for business for more clientele, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm growing my team. My daughter helps me. She has her own amazing career. She's a beast at what she does, and thank goodness she helps me.
It is.
So shout out to Drew.
That's my bestie.
And then I just hired 2 part-timers, starting off slowly. But I'm excited about what that's going to, what's going to come of that. So I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky. But yeah.
I wouldn't say you're lucky. I would say you're blessed.
I'm blessed. I like that. I received that.
All right.
I received that.
Well, those are my questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.